Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Wiggin' Out with Bobby Z. It's a Wiggy Weavy Wednesday. However, today's not going to be a tutorial. Today's going to be me talking a lot, which I do best. I've got a lot of people asking me how I learned the things that I know about hair, how I got about trying out these different things, if I've, watched other people apprenticed, interned, everything like that. So I figured I'd give a little lowdown about kind of how I have learned. I always played with hair and stuff growing up. I started doing wigs when I was in college. I was an apprentice, aka like work study kind of thing, in the costume shop at my school. And since I had a little wig and makeup training in the past, just kind of from like doing shows growing up, they kind of put me in charge of doing wigs for a production of Little Women. I just kind of got thrown in and was like, here you go, here's some wigs, and I did them. And some of the costume designers taught me some things, and other than that, it was just mainly all practice. And by the time I graduated, I ended up designing a whole bunch of wigs for shows at my college, and I did about a dozen productions or so in the 4 years that I was there, more or less. I also interned at a theater company called Pittsburgh CLO Opera. They have an amazing internship every year. So you're there for the entire summer season of 4 to 6 shows, depending on how many are tours or whatever. They have, choreography, they have administration, they have the conservatory, kids, they had wigs and makeup, they wardrobe, stage management, music, but I was the hair and wig intern for a summer. So, because of union rules and everything like that, I wasn't allowed to do wig changes, and I really didn't do a lot of styling. I did a lot of running around, doing presets, making sure stuff was inventory, on shopping trips to pick up supplies, getting lunch, running back and forth while she was in a meeting trying to orchestrate other things. So I didn't do a lot of styling, but I got to watch my supervisor style and set pretty much all the wigs for the whole season. So I got to watch her, do different setting patterns and different roller patterns and different ways of dealing with human hair versus synthetic hair, and how to properly block and anchor on a wig the right way and all of those things. So that's kind of where I got my start going into things the proper way, was when I was at CLO. And then the internship at CLO is great. You learn a lot. It's very hands-on. It is a big time commitment though. And when I did it, you were only getting paid $100 a week, which for being an intern, I think it was 100 or 150. I'm not sure which it was. I don't remember right now. But I would drive in every day and park. So the fee that I got as an intern pretty much paid for my parking, because I hate taking the bus. Then I moved to the city, and I moved here about 4 years. It'll be 4 years next month. And I came here to go to the Aveda Institute because I knew that to join the hair and makeup union to work on Broadway as a hairdresser, I had to be licensed. And I could have just gone to Empire or something like that, and I could have gone to school back home in Pittsburgh. I almost went to school actually in DC, but then I decided that since I wanted to be on Broadway, I should go to school in New York so I could be licensed in New York and then work on Broadway. So I went to school here in New York. It's 1,000 hours, so it was about 8 months of school for me. Took my test, passed it on the first try, and then I was the assistant for a summer in the Algonquin Playhouse in Maine under my friend Amelia. Hey girl, how you doing? For most of the summer, I was a replacement. I replaced the original assistant. He wasn't quite working out, so they brought me in, and then that's kind of where I learned how to run a show, set up a show, figure out time management. You have 2 hours and you have to do 15 wigs. So it's like, so I have to somehow figure out how to do these 15 wigs in 2 hours. Great. That's just summer stock for you. That's kind of how it just accelerates. It goes, and it doesn't quite stop. Now, Algonquin versus Pittsburgh CLO were two completely different things, because Pittsburgh CLO, their shows only run a week or two. So for a lot of the summer, you're getting ready, like for instance, the season I was there, we were running MAME at night, And then during the day, we were getting everything ready for And Get Your Gun. And then when And Get Your Gun was running, we were getting everything ready for, I think Smokey Joe's Cafe came after that. And then during Smokey Joe's Cafe, we were getting everything ready for West Side Story. So when you're in that sort of summer stock situation, you're running one show at night, and they're rehearsing, and you're pulling and styling and everything for the next show during the day. And at the Agunquit Playhouse, the shows there ran a minimum of 3 weeks. Some of them ran 5 or 6. So there, you know, your first week is you teching and getting into everything. And then you open, and then you kind of are setting the show, and you're still figuring stuff out by that first week. The second week's a breeze, and then the third week is when the next show starts. So you're like, oh crap. So then you have to start doing double duty, coming in during the day, getting the next show up and running while running your show at night. Now, it is really exhausting. You're not going to make a lot of money, but I think if you want to start doing theater, a hairdresser or a stitcher or a wardrobe person or a makeup artist or something like that, you really need to get the summer stock under your belt, because you need to learn how to do stuff quickly, efficiently, and correctly. Today I'm going to show you guys 3 books that helped me along the way, books that I have found that have been instrumental to me learning how to properly do wigs and period hairdressing and all of that. The first book I have is this, which is Wig Making and Styling by Martha Ruska. Ruska, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry, Martha. I've never met you, but I'm a big fan of your book, and I know a lot of your former students, so I just have to say big shout out to Martha and a big thank you so much for writing this book, because I tell everybody about this book. I adore it. Martha is a faculty member at the North Carolina School of the Arts, which is one of only 2, I believe, schools that offer a degree in wigs and makeup. They offer one, and as does the Cincinnati Conservatory, CCM. Now, had I known when I was a senior in high school that you could major in wigs and makeup, that totally would have been my second choice. Totally. I was all the way musical theater going into school. I was musical theater, I have to be an actor, But had I known that that was an option, I definitely would have put that as my second choice, and I probably would have ended up gotten into one of the schools for it. However, when I applied to college, my backup was math. So I did get into a couple of schools for math, didn't get in for theater, but had I known you could go for wigs and makeup, I would have done that. Anyway, so she's on faculty at the North Carolina School of the Arts for wigs and makeup, and she wrote this book about basically teaching what you would learn if you were a student at UNSC, North Carolina School of the Arts, NCSA. Yeah. So basically, she wrote this book as a way of teaching what you would learn if you were a student at North Carolina, but in book form. I'm not sure if this is the book that they use in her classes. Not quite sure, but I think I would. My one thing about this book, though, is that I love this girl on the cover here, but this is totally a glamour makeup shot. Like, you can't really see the wig, you know? Like, I would have made it something... You can see some wigs down here, but I really would have made this more of, like, a wig glamour shot than a makeup shot. But that's me personally. You know, maybe she wanted it to be, and they said, whatever. I don't know. But this book is great. It is a full color book. It has tons and tons of pictures and examples and research images and all of that. This book is pretty much my Bible. This book teaches you how to make a lace front. This teaches you how to make a full lace wig. This teaches you how to set, style, and maintain human hair and synthetic hair. It basically teaches you everything you need to know to be a wig dresser or a wig stylist. Now, I know a lot of people that are already wig dressers that have been working in the industry for years, and they don't like this book. Now, they don't like this book because they're already set in their ways, they know things, so they figured it out on their own and they do it their way. And then with this book, it teaches you either a different way or something that's opposite of what they do. Now, like I always say in my videos, it's all about personal preference and experience and experimenting. So what works in this book doesn't necessarily work for me and won't necessarily work for you. But if you try out what's in the book and it doesn't work, try to tweak it and you'll fix it. I really do enjoy this book. It says on the back, it shows you versatile techniques to create all different historical hairstyles, which it does. It shows you 20s, 30s. It shows you big things built on cages. It shows you fantasy. Tips on altering wigs and creating wigs from scratch. Multiple approaches and solutions to solving wig making problems and needs. And information about the industry, including history and best practices. So this book's I find that this book is instrumental to anybody that's trying to learn anything about hair and wigs for theater, for drag, for film, or anything like that. I think that this book is instrumental, and I think that this book is an amazing buy. Second is a book about hairdressing. It's not about wigs per se, but all of the same techniques apply, and you'll see a lot of techniques in this book that are also in the Martha book. This book is a vintage hairstyling book, and it's step by step. And the reason why I love this book so much is that it starts at the beginning. It shows you rollers, it shows you pin curls, it shows you curling iron versus a hot roller versus a steam roller versus a wet set. It shows you and explains all of that stuff. It shows you the vintage silhouettes. It shows you multiple, and it also shows you multiple step-by-step styling. Now, a lot of the styles in the book, I don't really like them. Just personally, the way that they do them, the way that they're styled, it's kind of like, but the technique is there, and the steps are there. And honestly, I love this kind of style that's on the front cover of the book. I call it a happy roll. And I wanted to know for years how to do this. And this book shows you how, and it is so easy peasy. You'll learn. But you know, it shows you multiple periods, it shows you different ways, and it also uses, a lot of it is done on the same women. There's only a few different women that are in this book, so you can see how somebody with a similar density or texture of hair or haircut to yours can do multiple different styles. It shows you short cropped styles, it shows you long styles, faux bobs, like everything. This book is really amazing. I love it. This book also has full color pictures. It shows you step by step how to do so many different styles, and it shows you the before, the after. It shows you about base direction, roller direction, all of those things. Shows you how to finger wave, shows you how to do, you know, this is what I was talking about, base direction. Shows you about hot rollers. This is my favorite. This is the silhouette page. When you're doing something that's period, such as a 40s or a 50s kind of style, the silhouette is so instrumental and is so important. And I find so many girls out there trying to do rockabilly, pin-up, vintage kind of hair don't understand the silhouette and the proportions that it makes on your face. And this is such a good outlook because there's no, as you see, there's no faces. The pictures have no faces. They have a nose on this side and a chin, and on this side they have nothing. But you can see the different silhouettes and the shapes and how it affects the shape of the final style, and I find that's very instrumental, and that's often skipped over when people talk about vintage hairdressing, rockabilly, pin-up, stuff like that. The proportions and the silhouette is often skipped over, and that is the most important aspect of it to me. Last but not least is a book that is huge, about as big as War and Peace and Les Mis. It is a big honkin' sucker of a book, as you can see. It's heavy, but this is Fashions in Hair by Richard Corson. This book does not have photographs. This book is all illustrations, hand-done illustrations from Richard Corson. Now, he passed away. This book has been around, as far as I know, for several decades, and every couple years, they add new images and they re-release it as a new edition. Richard Corson did pass away he did pass away a number of years ago, so the 90s and the 2000s part of the book is drawn by somebody else, and you can definitely see the difference. But this book is really great because not only does it have illustrations it has illustrations on one side, and the other side will tell you what year it was, what continent it was from, or even if it's a famous person, who it was. It also, there's a lot of writing in the book that tells you about how they did certain things, the reasons why they did things certain ways, and it gives you kind of the history of the hair like that. So the plates in this book, like I said, are all hand done. They're all hand drawn. Most of them are drawn by Richard Corson himself. And they're split up into men and women. So as you go through the book, they will do 18th century men, 18th century women will be two separate portions of the same chapter. Now, this book is more for the experienced hairdresser who pretty much has mastered roller setting and being able to look at a style and figure out what it's supposed to do. I find that as a hairdresser and a wig stylist, my biggest hurdle to jump over when I was first starting out was being able to look at a picture or an illustration or a photograph and say, okay, if this is the final result, how do I have to set this to get to that final result? The vintage hairdressing and the wig making book are going to be the best way for you guys to figure out and to hone those skills of how to figure out which way to set a roller to get a certain wave pattern or a certain comb out pattern. But this book is going to be instrumental in showing you guys what period accurate hair actually looks like and what period accurate hair is styled as. This goes all the way back to, Roman, ancient Egyptian, ancient Roman time as well. It goes all the way back. Basically, it's fashions in hair the first 5,000 years, and it literally goes back 5,000 years. It explains about how they used to make their wigs, how they used to color their hair, all the way up to, Marie Antoinette, where they used to build things over cages, or they had wigs because of the lice problems and all of things like that. This is not only a great book to have just for the images, it's also a great book to read, to find out, hey, why did they use this kind of thing back then? Hey, why did they style their hair this certain way? Or, oh, who brought that into fashion? Why was that cool? This book. Thank you guys again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this quick little video about my 3 favorite books and a little bit of a history about me as well. I hope it kind of makes you guys, want to get out there and experiment more. I'm not saying you have to buy these books. If your library has them, by all means, take them out of the library. Read them, or if a girlfriend of yours has them, borrow them, read them, devour them. That's what I did. I've pored over these books for years. You can tell by, how the binding's broken and how the pages are all messed up that I've had these books for a long time and that I use them a lot. And they are an investment. They're not cheap. I'm not saying to go out and buy all 3 at once because they're not going to be cheap. But they're instrumental to have, and I think that they're a great learning tool. And I think that you guys need to get out there and start experimenting and learning. As RuPaul says, reading is fundamental, hunty. Yeah, so be sure to subscribe. Add me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I now have a form spring. Be sure to email me, ask me questions, tell me what you guys want to see in a future video, and I'll get around to doing it eventually. All those links are down in the box. Also, the links for the 3 books are down in the box as well. So thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you next week. Have a good one.